Alrighty boys, welcome back. We finally won a Siege Cup. We won a S tier Siege Cup just yesterday, and 2 weeks ago we previously just won an A tier Siege Cup. So back-to-back Siege Cup wins. I'm pretty hype about it. But one of the things that I wanted to show you guys in today's video, and by the way, this is going to be a Goyo step-by-step video. I wanted to show you guys this little prediction play that I did with Goyo, and I wanted to share it with you guys because I feel like it was a nice little play that I did that could net you guys easy free kills over on Bank. This is during the finals of the Siege Cup. The team we're playing against is a very well-known rank stack, so what I decided to do was that I was going to take a chance and I was going to do like, this is semi-risky I want to say, because technically you get peeked from the other windows here, but the idea is that you wait for somebody to punch the top square window to look down the janitor hallway for like an easy first pick, right? And you're just waiting, specifically looking at the window that I looked at, specifically in the spot that I was looking at, to see if you can get yourself a free kill. It's something that I've done too, that I've caught myself doing a lot on attack, and I feel like a lot of other people do it as well, to try to look for that early first pick, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's the whole reason why you're able to even go for that in the first place, is because of the fact that people tend to have a little habits like that. But overall thoughts when it comes to Siege Cup is that it was mostly like, the one that we played was like really like chill. Honestly, in a weird way, it was like low-key easier than ranked, because when you get a lot of teams that like want to play like competitively in a tournament setting, a lot of them like don't really know what they're doing. So it's like, in a weird way, they actually like screw themselves over by trying to play really high level, try to play really competitively, you know what I mean? So the thing that I'd recommend is that when you're just starting out with Siege Cup, if you're looking to get competitive in the Siege Cup and do that type of stuff, the thing I would highly recommend is to actually not try to copy what other people are doing yet, unless you truly understand what the strategy is and what people are trying to do when they do like their site setups or their attacks. Now, the one thing I will say that I have noticed recently is that even the most competitive teams on this game run operators that just have good guns, like Goyo, for example. And I am starting to firmly believe that Goyo's gun is the best defender gun. And the reason for that is because it's basically an SMG-12 with no recoil that has an ACOG. That's pretty much in a nutshell what it is. And basically what that means is that when you're about to take a gunfight with like literally any other operator on attack, 9 times out of 10 you're just gonna delete them. Like, you're just gonna like one-shot them like outright, you know what I mean? Like take for example that Ace, you know, like he jumped into the breach, I pretty much lit him up to 1 HP. Surprisingly, I didn't actually get the finish on him, but I did only body shot him on the vault-in right there. But I pretty much got like a very easy kill overall on him right there, you know? And that's also diffuser down, so in these type of positions, now the enemy team is now forced to push into me with the Vector, and all I have to do is just hold this window hop out here, and it's completely winning for me, because as long as I am making this gunfight very difficult for the enemy team, there's not really a good way for them to actually win this gunfight against me. So we're going to go ahead and kill a ram as well. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is that when your teammates light up people as well, that's when Vector's gun is really good as well, because since it shoots so quickly, even if you don't hit the headshot, you're still going to be most likely killing most players like very, very quickly as well. Now, one thing I feel like a lot of people are kind of sleeping on when it comes to Goyo is actually the Goyo canisters themselves, as well as proxies, and then you have the option for impacts as well. There's a lot of like utility in Goyo's kit that is completely built for just delaying the enemy team, if that makes sense. So a lot of the time what you can actually do is the thing that everyone tells you to do, like don't peek, don't swing, don't be aggressive, you know what I mean? You can play very passively, and the idea is like, as long as you can burn a lot of time from the defender's point of view, because like think of it like this, right? We're on a skyscraper, I'm putting my Goyos on very common entry points. Now, don't get me wrong, if people know my Goyos are here, they can get rid of them very quickly, so just think of it like that. But in a weird way, right, if you use the Goyos like this, where you put them like on barricades, or like on like very common entry points, or even like, you don't even have to put them on the barricades, so don't get it twisted for a second. You don't even have to put them on the barricades. It's just more about like the information that somebody's going to be coming from there, you know what I mean? And you're going to be trying to delay them from being able to access that entry point. So what you could do, and I'm saying this in like a perfect setting, right? Because I know I'm going to get comments saying, oh, don't put your Goyos on windows because that's bad utility placement. You could put the Goyos like on the floor next to a window or by like the entry points, or you know what I mean? But the idea that I'm trying to explain to you guys is that if in a perfect setting, right, what you could do is you could put your Goyos next to very common entry points, and then what you're able to do is have your teammates pop those Goyos on the roam, right? So like for example in this clip, right, I put my Goyos in like all the very common entry points, like top house wall, we got the samurai window, and then we have terrace door, right? Those are like the very common places that I put my Goyos for this game, right? And I know I put them like right on barricades, and I know that you're not supposed to do that. However, it's just a very easy way for me to be comfortable with Goyo and like get a lot of intel very quickly, if that makes sense. And so the idea is that if you do have like a heavy roam going, you could, instead of putting them on barricades, you could put them on like the wall or something, have your teammates play around them, shoot the Goyos out, right? With your teammates, right? Make use of your teammates. Always remember to make use of your teammates. I'm just doing this like in a more like solo setting, okay? So the thing here, right, that I want you guys to understand is that the amount of time that we burned, I think we burned like a minute 15, even though I put like all my Goyos on like just like very common entry points, you know what I mean? And just me putting them on very common entry points is minute 15. That means that if I rotated back without killing any of those people that were around me first with the vector, then that means the enemy team would have probably only had what, like a minute, maybe 30 seconds to actually function or push, you know what I mean? If I rotated back from that point onward, you know what I mean? Like say if everybody that was playing that side of the map just rotated back immediately, that means they're probably going to spend what, like a minute droning out terrace, drum, dragon, shrine, you know what I mean, up to T door, into T. You know, imagine if we had like a mute at that point or something like that, and their drones got stuck, and then they walked all the way up to take that space, and then, you know what I mean, there's probably only like, what, give or take like 45 seconds, 30 seconds left. A lot of people are not going to be able to execute a push from that position, and that's the thing that I kind of wanted to bring up about Goyo, is that the main thing that makes him so powerful is that since he is a defender gun, I don't think he would be nearly as strong if the Vector was on attack with ACOG. I don't think he would be nearly as strong. I think he would still be good, but I don't think he would be as nearly as strong as he is. But the fact that he is on defense means that you could take advantage of time a lot of the time when you are playing him and just burn a ton of time with his gadget and the proxies, and then get these at positions that are very advantageous. Because you know me, guys, when the time is winding down, a lot of people in this game, and I'm not saying like if you're like a champion level player and you're watching this right now, you're probably thinking in your head, oh, if you play a 5 stack of champs, they're gonna be able to use that last 30 seconds and open up the wall and get some kind of execute going. You know what I mean? Like, I understand that. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. But I'm talking about the vast majority of ranked below champion, even in champion too. Like, a lot of people, I'm going to be honest with you guys, a lot of people are not as good as they think they are when it comes to this game. A lot of people aren't as good as they think they are. A lot of people think that they will be able to use that last 45 seconds, last 30 seconds perfectly with their team, and they're going to be able to play it super well. But a lot of the times people are they're gonna panic, you know? They're not going to have enough time to actually do a proper execution and know exactly what to do perfectly every single time. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because a lot of people are so fixated on like this perfection that people play, but in reality a lot of people don't play perfect. Like they really don't, you know what I mean? They really don't play perfectly. And when they don't play perfectly, and this tends to happen most of the time in my experience, at least in my experience, like I said, I'm champion on console, I'm champion on PC, on controller only, by the way, just so you know. And the thing that I'm trying to explain to you guys is a lot of the times you just wind that time down a little bit, it becomes very easy to predict what the enemy team is going to be doing. And when you have a gun like the Vector with the ACOG, right, 9 times out of 10, you're just going to be winning any gunfight that is going to be like a time winding down position where the enemy team is like really like struggling to make and execute. You know what I mean? Like whenever you're in those type of positions where the enemy team has to make a move, as long as you can read that position and be like, okay, the enemy team has to push in here, right? They have to go in now. They have to go, and they're gonna have to flood in now. That means that you can figure out when you need to be swinging with the Vector. And like I said, the Vector, it doesn't lose to like many of the attacker guns when it in just a straight up 50-50 engagement. So what will happen is you're going to notice yourself winning a lot more gunfights as well with that time advantage on your side, you know? Like, don't get me wrong, guys. I do think there is, like, 5 stacks of champion players in a very competitive level, like Pro League level, tournament level, whatever, that are going to be able to use the time that you burn with Goyo regardless to get like a really good execute going. However, the vast majority of ranked players, and I know a lot of the people that watch these videos are typically just going to be ranked players. Maybe some of them are champion, maybe some of them are below champ, maybe they're diamond, maybe they're cold, maybe they're plat, whatever. A vast majority of the time, you're going to be able to just take advantage of the fact of being able to just use a lot of the time that the attackers need to actually execute their push, and then you're going to be able to burn most of that time. And when you burn most of that time, what's going to end up actually happening is the enemy team is not going to be able to function. And that's the thing that I wanted to talk about in today's video, is that just the main idea with Goyo is that you're trying to time burn. Don't get me wrong, there is a way where you play Goyo and you focus more on like letting the enemy team take a lot of space, and then you play your Goyos to deny some kind of plant. You'll notice that on like bank basement, that happens quite often than not, is a lot of people will put their Goyos to deny the default plant for server on bank, for example. And you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, I don't think that's a wrong way of playing. However, I do think that the vast majority of time, what you actually have the ability to do is that when you are playing Goyo, you can focus a lot on doing pure time burn. And when you put the enemy players, and a lot of the times ranked players, if you're going to be playing Goyo, when you burn a lot of the time against these ranked players, a lot of the times they won't be able to function when there's a lot of time winding down, okay? And when the time winds down, that's when you start to gain advantage in your 50-50 gunfights, because the enemy team becomes very easy to predict. So then you're able to predict what type of gunfights that you need to take with Goyo, and that's going to lead to you being able to win more rounds. Hopefully that made sense to you guys though, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and please make sure to like and subscribe.